Welcome back to another construct video, and in this video we're carrying on our Pokemon series where we start creating the world of Pokemon inside of the construct engine. Now in the last video I said we'd look at wild battles. I'm still working out the logic to get that to the stage where I'm really happy with it, so in the meantime let's have a look at how we can change to additional routes and go inside of buildings today. Now before we start this we should take our event sheets, and it's about time that these get renamed. So this first one's going to be called Battle Events. And the second one's going to be called World Events. This is going to be really important for later on. Next, we need to have additional layouts. So let's start by taking our world and duplicating it to create world number 2. And double click and make sure it's open in the tab. I'm not going to play too much around with changing this too much, but what I'll do is just change it a little bit. So when we move to this layout, we know it's a different one. I'm going to start by clicking on my world map. I've got my auto tile brush, so I can add in additional paths like so. And I can also use it to add in more water. So let's extend this lake right round and create a bit of a different look for this particular town. And we can even go and add more stuff in with our buildings and tree tile map. And actually what I'm going to do instead is I'm just going to take this building and just remove it for now. Oh, maybe that the rubber. So I'm just going to remove this building out of the way so it's no longer there in this particular layout. So we've got two layouts. We also want to be able to go inside of buildings, and this one becomes a little bit more tricky. So what we're actually going to do is right click, and we're just going to add a layout, and we're going to add layout only. Now when you create a new layout, it's important to name it, so I'm going to call this building 1. I suspect I'm going to have more buildings in my game later on. And I'm just going to center the camera. Let's move this tile map out of the way a little bit. Now there's a huge space for a building, so we can actually reduce the size of this quite a bit. What I'm going to do is just quickly take the viewport size, 845 by 520 in this case, and just shrink it to that. And even that's going to be really, really big for what we need today. So we've got that set up, but we need to make sure that we can move in it. So we're just going to take our event sheets and we're going to pass in our world events. So I've just done that by clicking anywhere at the side to bring up this panel and just saying what event sheet am I using for this particular part of the game. And again, we want to use the world events. So we need to insert a new object now, and we can start building our interior. Now our interior is going to be made up of 3 tile maps. So we need indoor bottom, click anywhere, and there'll be a link in the description for this tile map today. And then just click anywhere and it will fill the screen. Once we've got that in, we can then duplicate that. So I'm going to find that one, indoor bottom. I'm going to clone it. I'm going to rename it to indoor walls. And then I'm going to clone it. And then I'm going to do indoor deco for the decorations. So 3 different parts that we need for this, a little bit more complicated than what we've looked at before. So make sure that we take these 2 and we drag these in as well. And to try and get them in the right spot, make sure they are set to 0, 0, and you can just manually do this. So there's my walls in, and then my decorations in that order as well, because our decorations will be able to go on the walls, and our walls will be going on our floor. So 0, 0, like so. So now we've got those all in, we can start designing. So start by clicking on your indoor bottom and make sure you're clicking on this side panel and always checking that you've got the name indoor bottom at the bottom here. Now I'm just going to grab the fill tool. I'm going to grab the floor tile that I want, so I'm just going to take this one here and fill it in like so. Now we're still working with a slightly bigger tile set, so let's quickly change these to 16 by 16 to match our others. And then let me quickly refill that floor in like so. And I should do this for all the others before I forget as well. So 16 by 16. And the same for our walls, 16 by 16. So that's the bottom done. We've got this new floor here. We don't really need to add anything else. So what I'm actually going to do is right click. And I'm just going to lock this so I don't accidentally click on it again. Now I'm going to go to my walls. And there's a load of wall tiles in the middle that we can use. I'm going to use this one with the decoration because I quite like it. So I'm going to take the marquee select tool, select down the tiles, and then just using the sort of standard tool, I'm going to put in some walls like so. Now you notice that we have got these additional walls that we could grab and put in, but unfortunately with the construct engine it doesn't seem to like these side walls and we get a bit of a weird pattern. So play around with those, but I can get these working. But instead, one of the things that we see in the older Pokemon games is they just take a black tile and they just fill in the whole area with this to mark the borders. So this is another option that we're going to choose today, and you'll be surprised how well this works inside of our game. It works pretty well. So any side walls I'm going to fill with this sort of black tile here. And what I can also do is if I go back to my bottom, making sure that I've unlocked it, so unlocking the whole selection if we haven't done so already, we can even just grab a shadow and we can put a shadow down to mark the edges of these walls here, just to show that there is a wall that's meant to be here. So going back to my walls, and again I'm constantly checking that I'm using the right one. I'm just going to add, or remove I should say, a couple of tiles where the entrance are going to be just here. So that's where my entrance is going to be. So I've got that done, so I can now go back and I'm going to lock this again. I'm also going to lock the bottom back because I've adjusted that one since. And that just leaves my indoor deco, so I'll put that in. Some stuff I forgot. Make sure that is set to 0, 0. And I can start adding in my decorations. So I'm going to move across again. There's loads and loads of different decorations that we can choose between today. So it's just a case of grabbing your select tool, selecting the decoration that you want, and then placing it in. So I'm just going to grab a couple. Let's grab a bookcase like so. We'll put this on the back wall. I might want a window, so there's a window somewhere on here. So it's just there. So I'm going to grab my window next, put that in, and we'll put a couple of windows on the back wall like so. Again, once you've got this set up, it's so easy to quick and add stuff. The final thing I'm going to add is a rug, because we do need to set collision. I'm going to show you how we can deal with stuff like rugs when it comes to our collision. So that's my, well, there we go. I've not put too much time for it. You can spend a lot longer on this, and we can even add staircases if we really want later on. So how do we deal with the collision now in this area? Well, we can add a player in to help test it. Starting with the bottom, then the flooring. The flooring needs no collision whatsoever, so we're not going to do anything with it. Next, we go to our walls, and our walls do need collision. So we're going to edit its behaviors, and we're going to add the solid behavior. And there's nothing we need to turn off at all with our walls. All the walls are going to be solid. That's it. Now for our decoration, we've got some interesting parts now because we want everything to be solid but our rug. So we're going to edit behaviors, and we're going to add the solid behavior. We're then going to go over to that rug that I added. So I'm going to make sure I know which one I added. So it was this one here. I'm going to highlight it all, making sure I'm getting all the squares. Right click. I'm going to do disable selected tile collisions. This will turn off the collisions for those particular tiles. Now, unfortunately, when testing this, my rug is not disabled, even though it should be disabled. So I think this is just a bug with construct. So if this happens to you, unfortunately, I don't know what the fix is at the moment. I can get it working, but all our other collisions are working perfectly. So we might just need to stay away from the rugs for now, or add them as a fourth decoration layer. But now we need to work out how we can get in and out of our building now, because we can't at the moment. We're stuck. We cannot leave the building and we're trapped inside. We've also got no way to get in the building in the first place. And this actually is the easy bit of today's video. So first thing we need is to insert a new object, scroll down and create sprites. And we're going to call this layout exit. And this is going to be how we exit a layout. So we're going to resize it to 16 by 16, which is the standard size of our tiles. And I'm just going to fill this in with a bright red color, like so. I'm also going to clone this, rename it, and we're going to have layout entrance. And I'm just going to edit the color of this, and I want this to be bright green. And there's no real reason for these colors. These are just two colors that I think work really, really well. Now at this stage, it's a good idea to turn them off so they're no longer visible. This just means that you're not going to be walking on top of these big red and green parts in your game. They're just there as collision markers so we can detect where the player currently is. So I recommend putting a grid on now, so show grid and snap to grid, and I recommend making your grid half the size of your tiles, 8 by 8. I'm then going to put my entrance in, or my exit, sorry, so this is where I exit the layout, and then my entrance is just before that, so where would I come in when I enter the layout, just like so. So that's set up. We can also do the same in our world. I'm just going to do this for one of my worlds, not both of them. So again, I'm going to take the layout exit. I'm going to put my grid back on, so just click anywhere at the top of your level. Snap to grids. I like showing the grid as well. And again, 8 by 8. And I'm going to place this in the doorway. Now we did turn off the collision for this doorway. So I'm going to place that about there. And my entrance, I'm just going to place below. So when I enter the layout, where am I entering? I want to enter that particular square there. So they're set up now. We now need to just add in some variables. So we'll start with our entrance, edit instance variables, and this one's going to be called previous layout. And we're going to store a string here because we need this to store the layout that we've come from. For the exits, we're going to edit instance variables, and we're going to use next layout as our name. This is also going to take a string, and this is going to show us where we're going to. Where's our next layout we're going to? Now, our world events, we need 2 events to handle all of this, which is fantastic. So let's start with a global variable first, and this is also going to be called previous layout, and this will also hold the value of a string. So first we need to check if we're touching the exits. So we're going to check if our player is overlapping the exit block. This means they are ready to leave that particular layout to go to a next one. So what we're going to do is we're going to start by setting the value of our previous layout. And this is going to be equal to layout name. So we're taking the name of the layout that we're currently on, whether that's building 1 or world 2. We're going to store that into a variable. We're then going to go to a layout by name and make sure on this by name. And this is going to be layout exit dot next layout. And then we're going to add another event below. And this is going to be an on start of layout. So when that layout starts, when we move to this layout, what do we want to do? I'm going to add another condition with this as well. We're going to take our layout entrance, compare its instance variable, and just check if that previous layout equals our previous layout with the globe on it, which is our global variable, and then hit done. And if so, now we need to do 2 things here. We're going to start by taking our player, and we're going to destroy our player in the world. Now, this is something that I don't normally have to do when doing code like this, but it seems to be the tile movement has a weird bug with it, and it'll always try and reset the player's position. And I'll put a sort of video on going through this bug as well as I'm talking through this bit here. So we're going to destroy it to fix that problem, to get around that bug. And then we're going to take our entrance and we're going to spawn another object, and that's going to be our player. And then just hit done. So that's it for the event sheet. Now, how do we control which layout we're moving to? Well, we need to go back to our layouts here. And these are both going to change these instance variables to where we're going to. So I want this one to go to world, and this second one to also go to world. And now we've got that, we can do the same for our world. So where is this one going to? So this one is going to go to building 1. Making sure I spell it the same as what I've got in my layouts up here. And then this one, if I've come from world, where have I come from? And again, this is building 1. So these are going to be always the exact same. And that's it. We can now run our game. I can now move around my world. And if I go in this building, which I've set up, I then enter the building and I can walk around it. And then if I want to leave, I come to the bottom and now I leave. You can mess around with these sort of hitboxes. You see that when I get to the bottom there, it's teleporting me. I'm not actually going in the building. So if I want to fix that, I would just move this up ever so slightly, so I get a slightly longer delay before I touch that hitbox. And again, this is just about playing around now and getting it for the feel that you want. But we can now go in and out of buildings. We can do the same logic if we want to go into different routes. So I can come to the top of my screen and go to a new route. And our world has now become much bigger. So hopefully you've enjoyed today's video. If you have, give me a like and comment on the video. It just shows me that you're really enjoying this series and you want to see more of it. And I'll see you in the next video.